Hello and welcome to another episode of Connecting the Dollars. Today we're going to discuss the last letter as CEO from Warren Buffett. As always, I'm Emily Agosto, owner and financial advisor at Propel Financial Advisors.
I'm Amanda Vaught, fellow financial advisor with Emily.
So today we also have David Vaught with us, who is a financial advisor and owner of Propel Financial Advisors as well. Amanda, I think everyone knows who Warren Buffett is, but just a little background on him and his career.
Yeah, so Warren Buffett is currently the CEO at Berkshire Hathaway for another month or so until his appointed successor, Greg Abel, is taking over. Warren Buffett is one of the richest men in the world, well-respected investor. Berkshire Hathaway is one of the largest companies in the United States. It's currently the 10th largest when we're recording this, and it is the only non-tech stock in the top 10 largest companies. It's worth more than $1 trillion. And what Berkshire does and what Warren Buffett specifically does, a lot of people watch and try to learn from his wisdom. Every year he does a Thanksgiving letter. Like Emily said, it's his last one as CEO. So we just wanted to discuss some few key takeaways from that letter today. One of them being his approach to philanthropy and what he plans to do with his vast fortune. So David, you want to take us through some of what he said in his letter about that?
And he's historically, I don't want to say he's waffled. He's changed his mind a couple times on how to do this, prodded by his first wife, who said, "You're being a skinflint, you're not giving any money away, and you're very rich." And his initial response to her was, "When I die, I'm giving it all away. So the more I build up, the more there will be." And she said, "Yeah, Warren, you may believe that, but start giving it away now." He used her foundation, he created a foundation for her and for his three children, and began annually to give money to them after that happened. He said he was then going to have Bill Gates' foundation handle everything else. He's changed that now and said, "It's going to be my three kids." His first wife died of cancer. "It's going to be my three kids. They're getting each of them 500 million annually now in their foundations. They've had a good running start, in other words, with 500 million every year. That's a lot of money, but they're going to do it all." And so that's a very key thing. Now, giving away all your stock when you don't own all the stock in Berkshire Hathaway, there are many other shareholders. But when he gives away his stock and it's converted to cash or used for charitable purposes, there's always been a concern that's going to affect the other shareholders. It may depress the price of the stock. Already we found that just Warren saying he's going to retire, some people went, "Oh, is that going to hurt the value of our company?" So he's very careful about this. But he does say that, and this ties into the Greg Abel point that I think you mentioned in terms of being the new CEO. He said in the letter, "I'm telling my kids to keep as many of the A shares." Berkshire has A shares and B shares. They all are voting shares. But the A shares are the main shares, they're the main part of his earnings. "We're going to keep all the A shares we can, and we're going to back up Greg Abel until he has time as CEO to build trust with the shareholders, with the board of directors. So even though we're giving the money away, we're going to be careful about how it affects the continuing management of the company." So this is a very important part of the letter, and it's one that a lot of shareholders are paying close attention to.
Yeah, he always says in his letters that he likes to take care of his shareholders.
He
So,
does. He very much believes that's who he's working for, those shareholders. They're the owners. And he's been an advocate that the corporate CEOs and boards of directors, that's who they're accountable to. That's who they should serve. He doesn't mean they don't have public responsibilities too, because he said a lot about that over time. Not much about that in this letter. But he does want to say, as Charlie Munger used to say, "Whatever you do, keep your Berkshire shares. It's going to protect you, and it's a wonderful stock."
yeah. And we already brought up a little bit one of the other major points of his letter, which was Greg Abel, who you mentioned when he announced that he was resigning earlier this year. The stock price suffered after that announcement. And so I do think he's trying to shore up Greg Abel. And I think there is a lot of faith in him to be a great leader of the company, but he still remains untested.
That's right. It was not a great surprise that Greg Abel was going to take over as CEO. At the annual meeting, he'd always had he and Charlie Munger, who was his vice chairman, up at the table taking all the questions for 5 hours from the shareholders at every annual meeting. A couple of years ago, he added Greg Abel and Ajit Jain. He had not yet said which of them might be the new transitional CEO, but he had them up there so they'd be seen by the shareholders. They answered some of the questions. So he's been working on this transition. One of my favorite things that happened to me at the annual meeting a couple of years ago is I was on the floor the day before the meeting where all the exhibits are and the subsidiaries are. And there was this group of people kind of standing around talking to this guy. asking him questions. And I thought, I wonder what they're talking about. So I just got a little closer. There were probably 10, maybe 15 of us standing around. All of a sudden it occurred to me, that's Greg Abel. He's right here on the floor, just like Warren Buffett has done so many times himself. All the shareholders can just walk up to him and ask questions. And he doesn't act like he's in a hurry. He's not annoyed by it. He thinks that's part of his responsibility to the shareholders. You could see it with your own eyes. It was a very important little vignette. But what Warren says about Abel in this letter just repeats in different parts of the letter. It's not all the same, but he keeps praising him. He called him great. He called him tireless. He called him honest. He said he understood many of the businesses. There are a huge number of subsidiaries in the Berkshire Company. He understands them, and he is proactive about wanting to deal with problems. And he specifically gave an example of the property and casualty problems that have been in some of the insurance subsidiaries of Berkshire. Geico is one that sometimes people mention. And so he's big on Abel, and so he's mentioned him in two very important ways. One, by bragging on him and talking about his attributes and what he's going to be working on, and another by saying, my directors that are giving away my stock and doing my philanthropy are going to hold on to enough A shares to protect him till he gets well established. So those are very key points in this letter, and they're consistent with Warren, the way he's tried to structure this transition.
And I think that leads us into the other point we wanted to discuss from the letter, which was the tough conversations he references, touching on his management style, being very hands off. And then he acknowledges the failure to have the tough conversations when he saw some CEOs suffering from, I believe he phrased it as debilitating diseases, and mentioned dementia and Alzheimer's as examples, and how Greg Abel's management style might evolve based on that experience going forward.
Yeah, this is really important because one of the unique things about Berkshire is that over the years he has bought many private companies that were never listed on a stock exchange. Dairy Queen is a classic example of that. Berkshire owns all of Dairy Queen. And Precision Cast Parts, which is a big family-owned company that makes key construction parts of most airliners and military aircraft in the world, was a family-owned company. He paid 40 or 50 billion dollars for it. But he bought those because he liked the management. He liked the families that ran them. And the families liked that Warren would buy their company and put it into Berkshire and create a transition for them, essentially, but leave the existing management alone. Let them keep doing what they were doing. Don't go in there and interfere and change everybody like you see so often in corporate acquisitions. So that was a key attribute of his management style. And he was very hands off. He would say, we own you. Send us your financial reports, send us your profits. If you need money, we can supply capital, but you run your own business. And he didn't try to be a micromanager. Over time, what developed? Some problems, and he's referred to them in the letter. And he has said in the last year's annual meeting, Greg Abel is going to deal with some of those. He's going to be more hands-on than me. He knows that needs to be done, and I agree with him. So Warren has admitted a weakness. He's sometimes very transparent about talking about mistakes he made, and this is one of them.
Yeah. And I think that brings us to how he closes the letter, which Emily, you want to go ahead and read that part?
Sure, I've got this quote here, the last couple sentences. He ends it saying, I wish all who read this a very happy Thanksgiving. Yes, even the jerks. It's never too late to change. Remember to thank America for maximizing your opportunities, but it is inevitably capricious and sometimes venal in distributing its rewards. Choose your heroes very carefully and then emulate them. You will never be perfect, but you can always be better.
That's pretty classic Warren Buffett. He's positive on the country and he's positive on Berkshire. And he thinks both will be resilient and continue to advance. And so can everybody else by just listening to his advice.
Yeah, pretty down to earth words from is he a trillionaire yet?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, he's something.
He's up there.
150 billion is the estimate. I think it goes up and down depending on the stock price, but he's not hurting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think we'll wrap it up here. We will put some links in the show notes to some articles we found that outline the letter and to the letter itself. Thank you, David, for being here with us today. We're hoping to talk about Berkshire Hathaway and a couple other different topics, including women within the company and also some current events surrounding Berkshire Hathaway and their activity in the investing world. So stay tuned for those, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.